For your stenciling, we are going to be using mesh stencil. First of all, you cover your cake and then take measurement of your cake, both the width and the height. And now for this cake I'm using, the width is actually 19 inches, 19 to 20 inches, while the height is almost 6 inches, but it's more than 5.5 inches. You can as well use your iron ruler to confirm the length, the height of the cake. Now the next thing you are going to do, you get your royal icing. Make sure it is well mixed, because if your royal icing is not well mixed, it will never dry after using on your stenciling. So next, you add the color of your choice. Here I'm using my black color. Because the can is almost empty, all I need to do is to remove some using my skewer to add. Now mix it very well until you get the normal color you wanted. This color is not yet okay, so I'm going to be adding more black. Now after mixing, set it aside. Now roll out your fondant. Remember, when you roll out, you have to take a measurement. But when you want to overlap, that is when you want to place your fondant on top of the cake after the stenciling, make sure that you overlap. That is, you have at least about 1 to 2 inches longer, at least, okay? So that it will enable you to be able to cut out the excess well. So after rolling out, measure and then cut out the excess. But somehow I'm going to be allowing it to be a bit higher than the cake, so that I'll be able to trim it out, that is the excess out, using my smoother and my small craft knife. Now when measuring, make sure you measure accurately. As a matter of fact, it's always better that it is bigger than it is shorter. Because when it is bigger, you can actually trim, but when it is shorter, you can't stretch it and you can't drag it because it has been stenciled. The only thing you can do is to condemn that one and start from beginning, and I know you wouldn't want that. Even though I know I am measuring to get the length, remember I'm still trying to make it a little bit bigger than the normal measurement, but not too much that will be difficult for me to handle. So now you place your mesh stencil. Now, something I want you to know, you can as well apply shortening on your stencil before placing it, if your hand is not yet strong on this. But right now, I'm not using shortening. I placed it like that, dried. And if you must do this, you must be very careful so that it won't shift. I will also advise that when you place your mesh stencil, use your rolling pin and roll on top so that it will grab the fondant very well before applying your royal icing. Now the reason why I did not apply shortening is because shortening sometimes does not allow it to dry fast. When you touch it, it will be staining. But if you know you want to use shortening, make sure it is lightly applied and on the stencil, not on the fondant, else it will not dry. So now you use your scraper, the flexible scraper, and begin to apply your royal icing. I've already added my royal icing using a spoon. So I only use that scraper now to make sure it circulates round. Do this carefully, and at the end of the day, make sure you scrape out every excess royal icing on top. This will help the mesh stencil to dry very fast. I'm trying to make sure that all the part that is resting on the fondant is well touched. After stenciling, lift it up, and here is our design. Now wash and dry the stencil to complete the design. Remember, it has not gotten to the end. Now before placing it, there is something you must know. It has a continuation. That is, if you are to place it to continue with, you merge it with the continuation of the flowers. You don't just place it anyhow. Okay? Now remember, it is compulsory you wash the stencil and dry it. If you remove it and place it again, it will dent the side you want to work on. So it is very important that you must wash and dry the stencil before using it again. All this requires patience. The same way you work with other stencil in the market. Alright, if you are not putting it directly on the body of the cake, it is the same way. Even if you are putting it on the body of the cake, you just go ahead and wrap it around the cake, hold it down with a thumbtack, and then go ahead and apply. But there's something you must know. For you to use a stencil on the body of the cake, your royal icing must be the same color with that of the cake. Then after applying it, you can then apply another color to bring out the design. Maybe I will try to do another kind of stencil so that you will understand what I mean. Maybe the one on the body. I am not promising that. If I have the chance, I will do that to show you. So now I am continuing the stenciling, and I've applied my royal icing and I am removing it with my scraper again. Remember, the scraper I'm using is a flexible scraper. It's also in the market. Now on the process, this mesh stencil shifted a little bit. Now I want you to see the little line is going to create. Although this can be overlooked, it can be overlooked. If you don't want it to be there, you can place any design on top of that place to just close it up by the time you place it on your cake. Okay, you can use like blossom flowers or any cutter, or even small polka dots. Or you can even paint with your brush. Now I trim out the excess, and after trimming it out, I now place it on my cake. Now even if you are to use another type of stencil, this is exactly the same thing you are still going to do. Okay, it must not be mesh stencil, as we have so many different types of stencils in the market. Now with your shortening, apply generously. You do not have to be stingy about it, else when you want to place it, it will be falling off. And it's been 10 minutes now. The stencil, what I stenciled, is dried. When you touch it, nothing will gum your hand. Now carefully and gradually apply it on the body of the cake. Then go around and overlap the stenciled fondant. then trim out the excess using your craft knife. Now you can see I'm able to handle it easily because the stencil part is actually dried. It's not staining my hand, else the whole thing will just be messed up because of the wetness. So you must exercise a little patience, then feel it by touching it to be sure it's completely dried before applying it on your cake. Now it has been overlapped, and with your craft knife just trim off the excess, cutting it as if you are making a paneling method on your cake. As you cut through, you just open it, remove the one inside, and then replace it. Now place your smoother also for the top side and then trim off the excess. You can see the other side are okay, they are equal with the cake, but the side that is not okay, just trim it off. Now this method is old method to you because you have already been taught how to make a paneling method when covering your cake with fondant. These are the processes you go through when you are doing that. It is the same repetition of process that I am using here. Now check the side that is rough and use your craft knife and just slide them out. Now you can see the flowers. I am now going to show you how you can just paint it so that you get a very unique design. You can still leave it like this, it's still beautiful. Although everything depends on this type of or the color of the cake you are making. So I now have my yellow powdered color and I'm going to add it inside a bowl and then a little edible spirit. I am using edible spirit because it dries out very fast. Now mix it with the edible spirit very well to make sure all the lumps are dissolved, and then with your brush make sure when you touch your brush you remove all the liquid on the brush, not too dried, but make sure it does not run. This is what you do. Paint all the parts you are seeing the flowers. Now there are other parts where you see small leaves attached to the flowers. All you need to do on those parts is to get your green color and paint that one. That's all. Now I'm not being hard on it as I don't want the royal icing to wash. I'm only damping. I don't know how to put it, but I'm just damping my brush on top of it to make sure I did not remove the black color. And I am able to do this because my brush is not having a running water from the paint, from the color. Make sure water is not running out from the brush. That's how this can be achieved. So all I'm doing here is just to play around with it while I try to target all the flowers for my painting. Then after painting, I will just do the same with that of my green, but green will be very scanty as the leaves on the stencil are very small. So now you can see I've painted my green. I'm just going to show you what I did. It's just to touch. The same thing I was doing with the other one. You just pick the ones you want to put the green. That's all. I mix my green also with edible spirit. So you can see the cake is ready. The next thing you can do is to put any topper, picture, whatever you want to put there. They will all bring out the beauty in it. Bye for now. See you in the next class.